The vast emptiness of deep space held no terror for Commander Sarah Chen. After 15 years aboard research vessels, the darkness between stars felt more like home than Earth ever had. She stood on the bridge of the ESS Hawking, Earth's most advanced research vessel, watching the strange readings flicker across her holographic display. "Dr. Lawrence, are you seeing this?" Sarah called out to her chief scientist, her eyes never leaving the mysterious energy signature that had drawn them to this remote sector of space. "Yes, Commander." The elderly physicist's voice trembled with barely contained excitement. "Whatever it is, it's artificially generated, and it's massive, at least 20 kilometers in diameter." The Hawking had been tracking the anomaly for 3 days, following it to this point nearly 6 light-years from the nearest human outpost. Standard protocol would have been to call for backup, but Sarah knew an opportunity when she saw one. Humanity had been searching for proof of intelligent alien life for centuries. She wasn't about to let this chance slip away. "All stations, this is the commander. Yellow alert. Dr. Lawrence, continue monitoring. Lieutenant Parks, maintain our distance but keep us within sensor range." The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements precise despite the tension hanging heavy in the recycled air. They were all thinking the same thing. This could be it. First contact. The energy signature suddenly spiked, and space itself seemed to tear open before them. Through the massive viewport, Sarah watched as something emerged from what could only be described as a hole in reality itself. The object was sleek, crystalline, and impossibly large, a ship that dwarfed the Hawking like a whale beside a minnow. "My God," Dr. Lawrence whispered. "The energy readings, they're off the scale." Before Sarah could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with the same message, translated automatically by their computers. "UNREGISTRED species DETCTED. Rehumane stationary for evaluation. Resistancy will or is ULT in immediate termination." "Open a channel," Sarah ordered, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Science Ship Hawking. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." The response was immediate, but not what anyone had expected. A beam of purple light swept through the bridge, passing through each crew member in turn. Sarah felt a slight tingling sensation as it moved through her. "Biological and technological analysis complete. Species designation human. Development stage pre-awakening. Threat level minimal. Categorization study subject." Sarah's jaw tightened. "We are not test subjects. We are a sovereign species and demand to be treated as equals." A new voice filled the bridge, artificially smooth and devoid of emotion. "I am Overseer Xan of the Nexus Collective. Your demands are irrelevant. Your species has barely mastered primitive faster than light travel. You have no standing among the civilized races of the galaxy." 3 smaller ships emerged from the massive vessel, surrounding the Hawking in a triangular formation. Sarah's tactical officer, Lieutenant Rivera, spoke up quietly. "Commander, their weapons systems are active and locked on us. Our shields wouldn't last a second against that level of technology." Sarah understood the implicit message. They were completely at the aliens' mercy, but something about their dismissive attitude made her blood boil. Humanity had clawed its way to the stars through determination and ingenuity. They deserved better than to be dismissed as lab rats. "Overseer Xan," she said, choosing her words carefully, "while we may be young compared to your civilization, we have much to offer. Knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. Let us prove our worth." "Your species' primitive psychology is amusing," Xan responded. "You believe your determination and emotional responses compensate for your technological inadequacy. This is why you remain in quarantine until proper study protocols can be established." A shimmering field of energy began to form around the Hawking, some kind of containment barrier. Sarah knew they had seconds to act. Dr. Lawrence, she said quietly, did you complete the analysis of their energy signature? Yes, Commander. It's unlike anything we've seen, but the basic principles are similar to our quantum field generators, just several orders of magnitude more advanced. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. And did you notice how their ships maintain perfect triangular formation? Their field geometry. Dr. Lawrence's eyes widened with understanding. It requires precise positioning to maintain stability. Sarah finished. Lieutenant Parks, on my mark, execute emergency maneuver Delta 7. Lieutenant Rivera, divert all power to the quantum pulse array. Commander. Zhan's voice held a note of warning. Any hostile action will result in your immediate destruction. Who said anything about hostile action? Sarah replied. We're simply testing a new scientific hypothesis. That's what study subjects do, right? Before Zhan could respond, Sarah gave the order. The Hawking dropped straight down relative to the alien ship's plane of formation, while simultaneously releasing a precisely calculated quantum pulse. The pulse wasn't powerful enough to damage the alien vessels, but it didn't need to be. It simply disrupted their perfect formation for a fraction of a second. The result was spectacular. The containment field collapsed in on itself, creating a cascade of energy that forced the alien ships to retreat. The Hawking slipped through the gap in their formation, its engines already spooling up for an emergency jump to FTL. Impossible. Zhan's voice had lost its artificial smoothness. Your technology should not be capable of understanding our field mechanics, let alone exploiting them. Here's your first lesson about humans. Overseer, Sarah said as her ship prepared to jump. We're really good at understanding things we're not supposed to. And we don't take kindly to being caged. The Hawking vanished into FTL, leaving behind 3 disabled alien ships and one very important message. Humanity would not be so easily dismissed or contained. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. As they raced back toward Earth, she was already composing her report in her head. The galaxy was not empty, but it was not friendly either. Humanity would need to prepare. Dr. Lawrence, she called out, I want every scrap of data we collected about their technology analyzed. Lieutenant Rivera, start working on countermeasures for their containment fields. We just made first contact, and I have a feeling the Nexus Collective isn't going to be happy about how it ended. As her crew jumped to their tasks with renewed purpose, Sarah stared out at the streaking stars of FTL travel. They had escaped today through quick thinking and luck, but she knew the next encounter wouldn't be so simple. The Nexus Collective had shown their true nature. They saw humanity as beneath them, as subjects to be studied rather than equals to be respected. Well, humanity had faced long odds before. From the first time someone looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them, to the moment they finally broke free of Earth's gravity, humans had been proving the impossible possible. Send a priority message to Earth Command, she ordered. Tell them everything has changed, and we need to be ready. The message was sent, racing ahead of them through the quantum communications network. Humanity's age of isolation was over, but their greatest challenge was just beginning. The Nexus Collective thought they had found a primitive species to study. Instead, they had awakened a force they couldn't begin to understand. And Sarah Chen, standing on the bridge of her escaped ship, knew that the real test was yet to come. But for the first time since the encounter, she smiled. Because if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was exceeding expectations. Dr. Marcus Rivera stood before Earth's Combined Defense Council, his hand steady as he manipulated the holographic display. The captured alien technology floated before them, its crystalline structure casting rainbow refractions across the stark white walls of the underground chamber. 3 months, he said, his voice echoing in the silent room. That's how long it took us to reverse engineer the basic principles of their quantum field technology. The Nexus Collective expected it would take us decades, if ever. Admiral John, her uniform crisp despite the late hour, leaned forward. And you're certain about this, Doctor? There's no room for error here. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. With respect, Admiral, I was on the Hawking when we made first contact. I saw firsthand what we're up against. But I also saw their weakness. Pride. They're so convinced of their superiority that they never considered we might understand their technology quickly enough to matter. The hologram shifted, showing the debris field they'd recovered after the Hawking's escape. The Nexus ship's emergency shutdown had left behind fragments of their advanced technology. Fragments that Marcus and his team had been studying day and night. Their quantum field generators operate on principles we'd already theorized, Marcus continued. We just lacked the material science to implement them. But now, he gestured, and the hologram changed to show Earth's first prototype quantum shield generator. We're not just copying their technology. We're improving it. Their quantum field generators operate on principles we'd already theorized, Marcus continued. We just lacked the material science to implement them. But now, he gestured, and the hologram changed to show Earth's first prototype quantum shield generator. We're not just copying their technology. We're improving it. A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. Improving alien technology that was centuries ahead of Earth's current capabilities. It seemed impossible. But then again, humanity had made a habit of achieving the impossible. Dr. Rivera, General Okonjo's deep voice cut through the whispers. You're telling us that in 3 months, you've not only understood their technology, but found ways to enhance it. How? Marcus walked over to the prototype. The Nexus Collective builds everything to be perfect, precise, unchanging. But that's not how nature works, not how humans work. We adapt, we improvise. Their quantum fields are powerful but rigid. Ours? He activated the prototype, and a shimmering field sprang to life, shifting and flowing like water. Ours can change on the fly, redirect energy, even turn their own weapons against them. The display showed simulation after simulation of Earth's new defensive systems adapting to various attacks, learning and evolving with each engagement. But Marcus wasn't finished. And that's not all. Commander Chen's report mentioned their dismissal of our primitive psychology. Well, that prejudice is going to cost them dearly. We've integrated human neural patterns into the shield control systems. They're not just adaptive, they're intuitive. Admiral Zhang stood up, her expression stern. How long until we can begin production? We've already started, Marcus replied. Underground facilities across Earth, Mars, and the Moon are working around the clock. But there's something else you need to see. He brought up a new hologram, this one showing a massive shipyard hidden in the asteroid belt. Project Phoenix. The image showed a new class of ship under construction. It was smaller than the Nexus vessels, but sleeker, more aggressive in its design. By incorporating their quantum technology with our own innovations, we've created something they won't expect. These ships can match their power output, but with human creativity and adaptability built into every system. How many? General Okonjo asked. 50 will be ready within 2 months. Another 100 3 months after that. But numbers aren't what matters here. It's the message we're sending. The Nexus Collective thinks they can quarantine us, study us like lab rats. They're about to learn that humanity doesn't accept cages. As if on cue, the room's emergency protocols activated. A voice rang out over the speakers. Multiple Nexus vessels detected entering the solar system. Long-range sensors indicate a full invasion fleet. Marcus met Admiral Zhang's gaze. They're early. We expected to have another month before they returned. How many ships do we have ready now? She demanded. 12, plus the upgraded Hawking. General Okonjo was already issuing orders through his neural link. Then that will have to be enough. Dr. Rivera, is your team ready to test these improvements in actual combat? Marcus thought of his sleepless nights, of the thousands of scientists and engineers who had worked tirelessly to prepare for this moment. He thought of Commander Chen's words from her report. They expect us to be primitive, so let's show them just how wrong they are. We're ready, he said firmly. And we have one more advantage they don't know about. He brought up the final hologram, showing a network of quantum satellites hidden throughout the solar system. We've seeded the entire system with sensor nodes based on their own technology. We can see everything they do, predict their movements before they make them. Admiral Zhang's lips curved into a rare smile. So when they come expecting to find a primitive species cowering behind chemical rockets, they'll find something else entirely, Marcus finished. Something they've never seen before. Humanity fighting back with their own weapons, improved by the very creativity they dismissed. The alert sirens continued to wail, but there was no panic in the command center. Instead, there was a palpable sense of anticipation. The Nexus Collective was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. As the defense leaders filed out to take their battle stations, Marcus returned to his lab. The prototypes were ready, the ships were armed, and humanity's greatest minds had worked miracles with the alien technology. Now it was time to show the galaxy that humanity wouldn't just survive. They would thrive. The Nexus Collective's pride had led them to dismiss humans as primitive. That pride was about to be their undoing. Because while they had been preparing to cage a primitive species, humanity had been preparing to unleash something they had never encountered before. Human ingenuity combined with advanced technology. The battle for Earth was about to begin. And thanks to the very arrogance that had led the Nexus Collective to underestimate humanity, Earth was ready. Marcus looked at his team, saw the determination in their eyes. "Let's show them what primitive humans can do," he said, and they got to work. Hastily assembled force of 13 ships. On paper, it looked like suicide. But Admiral Okonjo had learned long ago that battles weren't won on paper. "Ghost Fleet, this is command." He spoke into the neural link. "Execute Operation Shadowboxer." Commander Chen's voice came back crisp and clear from the Hawking. "Acknowledged, Command." Ghost Fleet moving into position. The 12 new ships and the upgraded Hawking seemed to shimmer and fade from view, their quantum fields bending light and energy around them in ways the Nexus Collective had never imagined possible. Dr. Rivera's improvements hadn't just copied alien technology, they'd revolutionized it. The massive Nexus fleet moved through the Kuiper Belt with absolute confidence, their formation perfect and unwavering. At their center, a ship twice the size of the others broadcast a message across all frequencies. "Primitive species of Sol 3, this is High Commander Xar of the Nexus Collective. Your earlier act of defiance has been noted. Prepare for immediate quarantine and processing. Resistances." The message cut off abruptly as the first phase of Operation Shadowboxer began. Hidden quantum satellites activated throughout the solar system, creating a cascade of sensor ghosts that made it appear as if hundreds of ships were approaching from multiple vectors. "Their formation is breaking," Lieutenant Park reported from her tactical station. "They're responding to our sensor phantoms exactly as predicted." Okonjo nodded. The Nexus Collective's rigid military doctrine was becoming their greatest weakness. They were reacting exactly as their training demanded, spreading out to counter what they thought was a massive ambush fleet. "Ghost Fleet, execute Phase 2. Happy hunting." The real battle began in earnest. The 13 Earth ships, still cloaked by their advanced quantum fields, struck with surgical precision. The Hawking, under Chen's command, led 3 ships in a devastating attack run through the scattered Nexus formation. Their weapons, hybrid designs combining human inspiration with alien power, carved through the enemy's supposedly impenetrable shields. "How?" High Commander Xar's voice crackled across the comms, losing its artificial smoothness. "Your technology cannot be this advanced. This is impossible." "You keep using that word." Chen's voice replied as the Hawking executed a maneuver that should have torn any ship apart. "I don't think it means what you think it means." The battle unfolded like a deadly dance. Earth's ships would appear, strike devastating blows, and vanish again before the Nexus vessels could effectively target them. The alien fleet's superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't track their targets. "Sir," Lieutenant Park called out, They're adapting their sensor patterns, trying to track our quantum signatures. Just as we expected, Okonjo replied. Execute Phase 3. The quantum satellites that had been generating sensor ghosts suddenly shifted their output, creating a web of interference that fragmented the Nexus fleet's coordination. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos as ships lost contact with each other, their rigid command structure falling apart. On the bridge of the Nexus flagship, High Commander Xar was facing something he'd never encountered in centuries of service: the prospect of defeat at the hands of a primitive species. All ships maintain formation. These tricks cannot. His orders were cut short as 3 Earth ships decloaked directly above his vessel, their hybrid weapons systematically disabling its key systems. The massive flagship, pride of the Nexus fleet, drifted powerless in space. This is Admiral James Okonjo of Earth's Defense Force. His voice rolled across all frequencies. Your flagship is disabled. 47 of your vessels have been neutralized. The rest are scattered and cut off from command. You have 2 choices: immediate withdrawal or total defeat. There was a long pause. Okonjo could almost feel the shock and disbelief radiating from the Nexus ships. This wasn't supposed to be possible. A primitive species using their own technology against them, beating them at their own game. How? Xar's voice was barely a whisper. How did you achieve this level of advancement so quickly? There was a long pause. Okonjo could almost feel the shock and disbelief radiating from the Nexus ships. This wasn't supposed to be possible. A primitive species using their own technology against them, beating them at their own game. How? Xar's voice was barely a whisper. How did you achieve this level of advancement so quickly? You made a fundamental mistake, Okonjo replied. You judged us by our technology rather than our potential. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our tools. It's our ability to adapt, to think differently, to take what exists and make it better. The battle map showed the remaining Nexus ships regrouping, but not to attack. They were forming a withdrawal formation. Victory was at hand, but Okonjo knew this was just the beginning. Remember this day, he broadcast to the retreating fleet. Remember what happened when you tried to cage humanity. We don't want war with the Nexus Collective, but we will not submit. We will not be studied. We will not be contained. As the alien fleet retreated in disarray, Chen's voice came through on a private channel. They'll be back, sir, with a bigger fleet. Yes, they will, Okonjo agreed. But next time, we'll be even more ready. Dr. Rivera's teams are already analyzing the battle data, finding ways to improve our systems further. The Ghost Fleet regrouped around Earth, their quantum fields shimming like heat waves in the void. 13 ships had just defeated a fleet of 200. It would go down in history as humanity's first major victory against an alien power, but Okonjo knew it was more than that. It was proof that humanity belonged among the stars, not as subjects to be studied or specimens to be contained, but as equals. The Nexus Collective had awakened something they couldn't control, couldn't predict, and couldn't defeat through sheer force. They had awakened humanity's full potential, and this was just the beginning. All ships, return to base, Okonjo ordered. We have work to do. The next battle won't be fought just around Earth. It's time to take the fight to them. The Ghost Fleet vanished once more, leaving behind a graveyard of disabled alien ships and a message that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity would not be underestimated again. The crystalline beings known as the Verdeni had served the Nexus Collective for millennia. Their world, a gas giant's moon of perpetual twilight, had been one of the first conquered by the Collective's expansion. But now, watching the quantum-encrypted transmission from Earth, First Speaker Lyra felt something she hadn't experienced in generations: hope. The footage showed the battle at Sol, where 13 human ships had decimated a Nexus battle fleet. More importantly, it showed how they'd done it, not through overwhelming force, but through innovation and adaptability. Your message has been received, humans, she transmitted back through the secure channel. But the Collective's grip on our world is absolute. How can we possibly? By working together, Commander Chen's voice came through, accompanied by a data burst containing specifications for the hybrid quantum technology Earth had developed. We're not asking you to fight our battles. We're offering you the tools to fight your own. In the 3 months since the Battle of Sol, Earth had been busy. While the Nexus Collective regrouped and gathered their forces for another assault, humanity had reached out to other subjugated species. The Verdani were just the first to respond. On Earth, Dr. Rivera stood before a new prototype, its crystalline structure deliberately mimicking Verdani architecture. The quantum field generators we developed can be adapted to work with your natural crystalline biology, he explained via the secure link. You won't just be copying our technology. You'll be integrating it with your own unique capabilities. Lyra studied the specifications with growing excitement. The Verdani had always been forced to use Nexus technology, which was incompatible with their crystalline nature. But this was different. The humans had somehow created a hybrid system that could work with Verdani biology rather than against it. The collective will detect any large-scale manufacturing, she cautioned. Admiral Okonjo's voice joined the conversation. That's why we're not suggesting large-scale manufacturing. Not yet. Start small. Start secret. Remember how we defeated their fleet, not through superior numbers, but through superior tactics and unexpected capabilities. Over the next few weeks, a covert revolution took shape. Small groups of Verdani began incorporating the modified human quantum technology into their crystalline structures. Each success was carefully hidden from the collective's oversight, a spark of rebellion waiting to ignite. The Nexus Collective, focused on preparing their massive counterattack against Earth, failed to notice the subtle changes occurring throughout their empire. They didn't see how their own communications network was being slowly subverted, how their supposedly loyal subjects were beginning to wake up. Your revolution gives us courage, Lyra transmitted to Earth. But the collective is marshaling its forces. Our sensors detect thousands of ships gathering for an assault on your world. Let them come, Chen replied, because when they do, they won't just be fighting Earth anymore. The plan was already in motion. The Verdani weren't the only ones who had received Earth's message. The methane-breathing Koru, the silicon-based Tsar Collective, the energy beings of the Helios cluster, all had been contacted. All had been given the tools to resist. In her crystalline chamber, Lyra felt the first tremors of change rippling through her people's collective consciousness. The Verdani had always been peaceful, more interested in art and philosophy than warfare. But the humans had shown them something important. That resistance didn't require becoming like their oppressors. The collective believes strength comes from rigid order, Dr. Rivera had told them. We believe it comes from adaptation and cooperation. You don't need to become warriors. You just need to be yourselves, but free. The day of revolution came sooner than expected. A Nexus monitoring station detected unusual energy signatures from a Verdani art installation. But when they sent investigators, they found nothing, because the entire crystalline structure had become a quantum field generator, hiding its true nature in plain sight. The response was immediate and harsh. Nexus warships descended on the Verdani homeworld, preparing to make an example of these unexpected rebels. But they weren't prepared for what they found. The Verdani had transformed their entire crystal cities into weapons of resistance. Quantum fields flickered and danced through the crystalline structures, rendering Nexus sensors useless. Their attempts to bombard the surface were met with redirected energy, their own weapons turned against them by the hybrid technology. Impossible, the Nexus commander transmitted. You are a peaceful species. You cannot have developed this technology. We didn't develop it, Lyra responded, her crystalline form gleaming with newly awakened power. We learned it from humans. They taught us that peace doesn't mean submission. The battle for the Verdani homeworld became a symbol across the galaxy. News spread through hidden channels. The supposedly primitive humans hadn't just defeated the collective, they had shown others how to do the same. Back on Earth, watching the reports of spreading rebellion, Admiral Okonjo smiled. The collective thought they could isolate us. He said to his staff, "Instead, we've connected with every species they've oppressed. They wanted to study humanity. Well, they're about to get a very thorough lesson." Commander Chen, preparing the Ghost Fleet for the coming battle, added, "They'd never understood that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our ability to inspire others to fight for their freedom." The Nexus Collective had built their empire on the assumption that advanced technology and rigid order were the keys to power. But humanity had shown the galaxy a different path, one where innovation, adaptation, and cooperation could overcome even the most entrenched oppression. As reports of rebellion spread across the stars, the final battle loomed. The collective was gathering its full might for an assault on Earth, not realizing that they were no longer fighting just one young species. They were fighting an idea. And ideas, as humanity had long known, were the most powerful force in the universe.